Trump sounded quite optimistic about the prospects for a lasting deal. From your perspective, how realistic is that assessment?
I think President Trump, as any president of the United States, has the benefit of thousands of miles, thousands of kilometers of a distance from the region. And so his optimism is based on, grand geopolitical schemes which affect obviously the entire world, affect the US, affect Europe and beyond. But for Israel, I think the reality is a bit more direct. And we've seen the reality of a misplaced hope in the Hudna. Obviously, Hamas is not guided by percepts such as peace as we understand it, but by Hudna as defined, in Islam and in an extreme view of the readings of the Quran, from my perspective, and they, there was a Hudna in place on October 6th. There was a Hudna in place between Israel and Hamas, or rather between Hamas and Israel, on October 7th before 6 a.m. in the morning, which the terrorist group has broken by going into Israel, into the villages there, peaceful families burnt alive, children butchered, the youth at a music festival for peace murdered as in a animal hunt, really, hundreds of people there, and hundreds taken hostage and used as bargaining chips in not an exchange of hostages between two parties, but rather between hostages, including babies on one side, those taken by Hamas, and on the other side of other terrorists, Islamist terrorists of Hamas and of the Islamic Jihad of Palestine and of other terrorist groups, which were imprisoned in Israeli prisons for committing this sort of horrible crimes. So there is you cannot put the equal sign between the two, which is what sometimes news agencies which take the word of Hamas for granted, or put it in an equal value space with those of Israeli officials do, and this creates a moral confusion for people across Asia, across Europe, across the US, and the Americas and beyond. It's not the same. Israel is not fighting Muslims. Israel is not fighting the civilians of Gaza. There are about 20-something% of the population of citizens of Israel, which are Arabs, which are majority of them Muslim, and they have acceded to all positions of power in Israel, from the army to the Supreme Court, judges of the Supreme Court, to heads of the most prestigious universities in Israel, to heads of the most prestigious medical facilities, hospitals in Israel, and beyond. Integral, equal parts of society. If Israel wanted to commit a genocide, quote unquote, Israel could have done that very easily within the space of a week or two in Gaza. What we actually see is, yes, devastating loss of life. It's all on Hamas. This not one life would have perished, including that of members of Hamas, terrorists of Hamas, if Hamas had not decided to break the Hudna they have signed upon by committing these atrocious pogroms in the south of Israel. Do I believe that the negotiations taking place in Sharm el-Sheikh can lead to some sort of an outcome short term? Yes, by all means. I think that Hamas is under a lot of pressure, and because of that, including from the population of Gaza, and so they are probably keen to reach a lull in the fire. Although they have launched rockets also today and over the last few days from Gaza, and interestingly enough, not many in the world, report on this news as if it's not significant. So Hamas is basically And the population of Gaza, they are asking for a ceasefire, but they are launching rockets continuously at Israel. So this is strange. They are going to want to reach a stop in Israeli response to their atrocious attacks. That's clear. Will they give back those 20 or so people who are in the tunnels and beyond of Hamas alive? And the 38 bodies they hold, probably. Although I'm not holding my breath onto that. Although yes, people are holding their breath. So that's not a correct way of phrasing it. I do not necessarily believe that they will do it immediately. If they had, they would have done that when the Trump ultimatum expired, which was at the end of last week. So I think President Trump's optimism and patience with Hamas is greater than that of Israel because of the reasons I've presented in the initial statement. But will Hamas, break this hudna, this sort of ceasefire at a time that they choose? By all means, they will do so, and they have promised to launch attacks such as that on October 7, 2023, again and again and again and again, because they do not want a two-state solution. They want a one-state solution, which is not necessarily a Arab-Palestinian state, but they want, obviously, the caliphate, the Islamic caliphate. The aspirations of the Arabs in Gaza and in the Yehuda and Shomron, the West Bank, as it's known, areas, are, I believe, somewhat legitimate. Are they more legitimate than those of other nations which do not have a state, such as the Kurds? The Kurds in the Middle East are about 45 million, spread between Turkey, Syria, Iraq, Iran, and beyond. Do they have the same claim to a state as the Arabs of Gaza? Perhaps more so. Do they hold more claim, the Arabs of Gaza, to add the 23rd Arab state, more so than the Catalan hold to a portion, or the Basque to a portion of current day Spain? Not entirely sure if that's a moral thing to say, that one nation holds more of a right to have a state, and especially after they engage in horrible terrorism against the civilian population of the state that they attack, of which they want a part. Israel has, over the years, given the Sinai Peninsula, which holds more territory than the whole of Israel today, has given it back to Egypt as a sign of Israel's desire to have peace. Israel only wants to have peace, and it's this weak spot of Israel which has led to Israel being overexposed on October 7th, because Israelis are not prepared. Yes, thank you.
From your perspective, how much leverage does the U.S. really have to push both parties toward a final agreement?
As long as the United States does not leverage its pull factor on Qatar, as long as the United States does not leverage its massive, overwhelming firepower to impress upon Iran's fanatical leaders that they need to step off, because they've encouraged Hamas and the Islamic Jihad of Palestine to launch these attacks. They've encouraged Hezbollah, and in your initial reporting, I think there was something that I wanted to correct, at least one element. Hezbollah has launched from the south of Lebanon rocket and other types of attacks on Israel from October 8th continuously. Israel has only responded to those attacks, as Israel has only responded to Hamas's pogrom on October the 7th. So to get back to your current question, the United States can do a lot. The United States, together with Europe, if they really had the political will to collectively act, they could impose upon Russia to stop its war of aggression on Ukraine. They could impose upon Hamas and its supporters in Qatar, in Iran, and in other places in the Middle East and beyond to stop supporting it. And they could act to support Israel instead of putting political pressure. I'm not talking about the United States, I'm talking about many European states, because of their internal considerations on Israel, on the state that is trying to survive, really. Because again, if Israel, we've seen it on October the 7th, if Israel's leadership and military and intelligence falls asleep or miscalculates for even 1 second, then a pogrom of the size of October 7th can happen. If there was no army in Israel, not only 1,200 people would have been slaughtered on that day, but the entirety of its population would have been slaughtered over the course of weeks by invading civilians and armies and terrorists out of not only Gaza. Let's be very honest. I think that even from countries which signed agreements with Israel over the decades would have entered Israel to slaughter individuals there, whether that's Jews primarily, but also Arabs, Druze, and others. We've seen Muslims being killed on October the 7th simply because they coexisted as citizens of Israel with the Jews. So the United States can put a lot of pressure on
Mr. Schwartz, thank you very much for your valuable insights and for joining us from Sofia. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.
Welcome back to ANewz. Now let's take a closer look at the key stories shaping the region. A major diplomatic gathering is underway in Gabala, where Turkic leaders have come together to shape the region's future. With Azerbaijan taking the lead, the summit signals a renewed focus on regional cooperation, global engagement and shared development goals. Now we go to our correspondent Aysel Ibrahimova, reporting from the venue.
The 12th summit of the Council of Heads of State of the Organization of Turkic States has officially opened in Gabala,